Hello and welcome to The Run Home. We're live from the SEN studios here at Optus Stadium. And the AFL comfortable with the condition of the SCG at this stage. Josh Weddle and Jordan De Goey suffer injury setbacks. And the kid from Kalgoorlie, 2018 Premiership hero, Dom Sheed, calls time on his career. Massive show coming your way. Dom Sheed will join us live in the studio for the first hour. If you want to give a shout out to Dom Sheed, get involved. Join in any time on the text machine 0487 736 736 or call 13 12 55. Dean Cox will join us a bit later in the show as well, and Dan Ryan from the West Coast Fever. They're the hottest team in this town right now. The Dockers have got 6, but the Fever are on a 10-game winning streak, so he will join us as well. But the big news today was the retirement for Dom Sheed, who we haven't seen this year, of course, out with the ACL injury, but 165 games, 2018 Premiership hero, a runner-up best and fairest in 2021, and an all-time good guy, and he joins us right now. Dom, welcome to the Run Home.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's good to be here. So, yeah, a bit of a weight off my shoulders now, and, it's been a hell of a journey, so... I'm so grateful for having the career I was able to have, and obviously achieving the ultimate in a premiership, mate. That's what you play footy for. So I thought the time was right, with the young list and new coach and trying to rehab an ACL, along with a couple other niggles and injuries. My body just sort of couldn't do it, but did it today. Tell you what, one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
Speaking of the boys, Hayes, we were just talking about that.
I cried.
Yeah.
Did you cry?
Mate, I was very close to. But I was saying before, I've seen a lot of champions of the game come through, and they're hard as nails. Dean Cox and Darren Glass and these types of people get up there and, they start crying. I always knew it was going to be me one day, and didn't know how it'd go. It's one of those ones you can just never prepare for, right? I've been there for 12 years. A lot of players have gone through the club that, I've played with, and a lot of them have been around the whole entire time. So it's a hard one to prepare for, but it was a great 12-year journey, mate, that's for sure.
When you get the emotion going through your body, is it around the family, your wife, you've got the young child now as well? Is that sort of what brings out the emotion, given you know how hard the journey's been for you, but these people have been alongside you for that journey? Yeah,
it wasn't necessarily about me individually. Like footy's footy, and when you get to that stage of your career, as you'd know, it's you think about all those things, right? Family, and you hope, Kalgoorlie, where I grew up, and the people who impacted you to be able to give you the opportunity to play AFL footy. And geez, you've got to be selfish to play AFL footy, and it's really tough on some of the family and friends and all of that. So you reflect on that, and that's sort of what gets you, Hayes. The footy side of it, I love footy. I'll miss footy, but reality is that it's always going to come to an end. And I didn't cry because I'd told myself I'd do my best not to. Kept it pretty lighthearted, mate. I'm not a overcomplicated bloke, but it was good, mate.
So when you did your ACL, what was your thought then? Did you think at that stage that you might have played your last game, or have you had hope all the way throughout the season that, depending on the new coach and how things play out, that you might be able to get back?
I wanted to at least give myself the opportunity to get back, and a lot of it was, I wanted to rehab my knee first and foremost, and the club gave me that space to be able to do that, and so we held off even having a conversation about it while I was rehabbing. And then, watching the boys play on the weekend, like, geez, another step forward, not the 4 points, another step forward. And I sort of see, if I went around again, put my hand up to go around again, I just thought, with the playing group we have now and seeing that growth, I thought it was my time. So, yeah, I'd sort of held out hope that my body would hold up, and that, like, mentally, I sort of feel like I could have gone again, but I started running last week post ACL, and my body's just not able to do it and keep up with today's game. It moves very quickly, but it's I'd never fully ruled it out, but I probably knew deep down that it was done.
You're always going to be remembered as a premiership hero because of that moment. Let's take a listen to that moment, of course. 2018, late in the game. We know the piece of play. Jeremy McGovern started it. Dom Sheed finished it.
He kicks it inside the 50. McGovern! Splendid grab. Lands and goes. Got a chance there, arm down the wing. Vardy presents. The Eagles looking for the go-ahead goal. Vardy sets it up to half forward. Ryan, he brings it down. What a grab. Right half forward. He wants to go. Ryan sets it into the pocket. 2-on-1. The Eagles are the numbers. Sheed marks. Did he play on? Umpire says no. Go back and take your shot.
How good was Rioli just to keep the opponent out?
Borderline free kick. He did a fantastic job, but the umpire wasn't game enough to blow the whistle. Tough kick from here, Dom Sheed.
2 points down.
For all the shots that they've missed, this is the hardest of all. Tom Sheed outside the boundary, right forward pocket. Can he do it? He steers it at goal. No! Steal! Tom Sheed at last puts the Eagles in front.
10.
That is a kick for the ages. West Coast hit the
3.
last 2 minutes.
Jared Waitley at his finest. That's such a good call. And that's the SEN call of this. Of course, we've all heard the Channel 7 one, but the feeling's there and the emotion, even for myself, the goosebumps that I've just received from that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I like hearing that's one of the better ones, I reckon, of calling. But, yeah, it definitely gives you goosebumps. I've seen that clip and heard that a lot of times over. So I really enjoy hearing different people's perspectives and, that and even the fans, coming up to you and they're telling you where they were during that moment and what they were doing and, how happy they were at that time. So I'm very fortunate to be in that position. It was the right spot, right time, and the beneficiary of what was a very, very tough but successful year for our football club. And, I've had to speak about the kick a lot, and I said it today in my press conference, but it takes a lot of people to in a football club to make a grand final, let alone win one. So I sort of sometimes at times feel a bit guilty talking about it because you just have to be at the top of your game across all departments and in your lines as a coaching group and so aligned. And Simo and Nizzy and the board were able to do that. In that year. So very lucky. I wouldn't take it back at all. But it's cool to hear and to see, mate, and reflect on. And I'll have time over the next few weeks to do that.
I want to throw it out there. Is it the greatest grand final moment that we've experienced? I think in this state, maybe not for Fremantle supporters, but in this state, it's hard to think of some bigger moments in grand finals, and we all dream about that moment. You lived that moment to have not the last kick, but the last shot that was so telling in the game from a tough angle and to deliver. I think we all want to be judged on the big moments, how we react in the big moment, and you must be proud that you reacted that way in the biggest moment possible.
Absolutely, incredibly proud to be able to execute, right? No doubt if I missed it, I've no doubt someone else would have.
What was your thought process through that kick? Was there ever negative thoughts that came in and said, what if I miss? Or were you just that sort of person that was like, nah, I've got this?
Yeah, it was probably more so, I don't overthink things a lot on the footy field, and a lot of it's instinct. You obviously train and do all of that, but that's what I tell people is you can kick as many shots at goal from that angle, but as you like to train it, but you can't train being in front of 100,000 people, 2 minutes to go in a grand final to put your team in. You just can't. You just can't train that. So. The emotions were, extremely nervous. Don't kick it out on the full. Try. But then it goes to, all right, well, let's try keep things straight. Let's try hit the ball as well as I can and give it a chance. I think on my end, Hayes, it was, if I'd missed, it was a low percentage shot. So it would have been, fine if I missed. If I was 25 metres out straight in front.
Yep.
Geez, I'd have a whole heap of different emotions going on. You're expected to kick it. It's a big moment.
So the West Coast Eagles players always used to talk about the pocket at Subiaco Oval because your change rooms were right there, and it's the same pocket at the MCG. Going back to that time when you used to train there and have the last couple of shots or the first couple of shots from that part of the ground, what sort of percentage kicker were you from that pocket?
Oh, well, I was doing right foot torpedoes from that pocket. We would try all sorts of things, but it was actually the top of our race at Subi Oval. Everyone would just have 10 shots at goal before training and walking off, have 10 shots after, and you'd walk off, down a dinner at Nobu or, up a couple coffees one day. So you'd have a bit of fun doing it, but throughout the whole course of the year or my career leading up to that, geez, I would have had thousands of shots without even knowing that I was, So, bit different. The pockets are a bit deeper at the
yes,
GAs.
They are.
So, but no, it was good fun, and I have no doubt that had to play some sort of part in it. And being a left footer on that side definitely helped, mate.
You're always going to be remembered for that moment. But when was peak Dom Sheed the footballer? In that game, you also had 32 disposals, the goal. You came third in the Norm Smith medal. I think your final series to get there was unbelievable. I know in 2019 you averaged 26.5 disposals and kicked the 16 goals. When do you believe peak Dom Sheed was?
I think 2018 gave me a lot of confidence heading into the next couple of years. So I thought 2019 was probably my best year. My best patch of footy would have had to have been leading into the final series and the remainder of 2018. I found myself in the waffle haze with sort of 6 weeks to go in the year, I think. And, through unfortunate circumstances, found myself back in the team. And Simo said to me, that spot's yours the rest of the year. So don't worry, just find form, do what you can, play your role. And that gave me confidence to go, sort of unleash the shackles a little bit and not be so tired. And I was able to actually put together a good patch of footy leading into the final series to then have a decent final series and then to be able to do that. But that then flowed into 2019, and that was probably my year where I sort of played my best footy. And then after that, my career I sort of felt has been in, two sort of different sections, and it was sort of early days in that era, and then it was COVID, and then it was the era after that where it was a lot of injuries. I was really struggling to get up and play, and if I did, you're a bit underdone or you're not in form. And so my career, it's a bit of sort of I can sort of break it up into two, mate. I'm not sure how yours went, but that's how mine definitely felt.
Very similar, and pretty similar in the way that it sort of ended the last 3 or 4. There was always some interruptions that sort of played a part in not being able to get back to the absolute best. A few text messages coming through. Good afternoon, Hayes and Jimmy. Congratulations. Dom Sheed retired a great career. Hard-working midfielder with a gun left foot that beat Collingwood in the 2018 Grand Final. That is from Tucky. Dom, your star will always shine for us West Coast supporters. Thanks for the memories. That's from Frosty. Greatest Grand Final goal from the greatest Grand Final end-to-end play. 2 screamers and a ripper goal plus Gov's perfect kick to Vardy. You're a living legend, Dom Sheed. That's come through from Big Brian in Bali, and we know that he loves his West Coast Eagles. Throughout your time, what are you most proud of as a footballer coming through at the West Coast Eagles?
I think being in an elite environment like that, Hayes, is it makes you a better person, and you learn a lot. You get to rub shoulders with some of the smartest and most intelligent people there are getting around. So to be able to lean off them and bounce off them as a young Kalgoorlie 18-year-old kid from the country, it's unbelievable. And I felt like I really embraced that. And, the thing I'm probably most proud of, was coming in, and now I've walked away from the game, and, I've come out with a wife, a beautiful daughter, a great sense of community, great mates, and that's all stemmed from what the footy club and what the game of footy has given me. So I've learned a lot. I really loved my time in Kalgoorlie growing up, and then to be able to be 30 years old, I would have never pictured that would be I'd come out the other end like this. So being able to make my family proud and my community proud is something that probably means the most to me, especially when you get to the back end, Hayes. You're selfish as a footballer. You have to be, like I said, especially early days. But towards the back end, you start to really acknowledge and understand the sacrifices everyone else has made for you. So I just sort of hope, I hope I've done the right thing. I hope I've been a good person, and I hope I've given back in the way that that people have given to me. So the fans have been great to me. the media's been pretty good to me, mate, over the years, which has been great. So I don't have much to leave the game complaining about, and I'll stay connected in some way, shape or form because I do believe it is the greatest sport on the planet.
You should be very proud of what you've done, and I've got some questions for you, some fast five questions.
Mate.
So your favourite teammate, the best part, to be honest, about retirement is now you can say whatever you want because you can't get in trouble with the football club anymore. Well, wait until that contract's fully paid out.
I'm contracted till November.
But that's the best part is you can actually get your life back in a sense that you're not afraid to say anything. Your favourite teammate?
My favourite teammate had to be Chris Maston. Embraced me from the very get-go as a first-year player, and he was a bit of a rat bag as such, Masto, early days, but he took me under his wing and taught me a lot, mate. Yeah.
Which probably leads to my next one, teammate that you'd love to go to Vegas with.
Yeah, it's probably him. I mean, and when you actually, it's probably Tom Brass. He would probably be the one. But when you say favourite teammate, I've got a heap, from each line. Gov has saved me from, my man getting goal side of me, but he decides to just clunk a mark. And then I've got Nick Nat, who kept me in a job for, 8 years, tapping me the ball. And then I've got JK, who made my kicks look good. So there's a wide range of players. I think the most balanced and one of the most balanced ones has probably been TB and Shannon Hearn. They've been great, but Masto was always good for me individually off the field.
You're starting up a brand new team. Who's the number one player you would take from a talent point of view? Who do you think was the best player you played with?
The best player I've played with? There's a handful of them, and I'm finding it very hard to go past Gov in his prime. If you were talking, across the span of a whole career, then you could go Dean Cox. Like Shuey wouldn't be far off. The players that I've played with. So there's a lot of them, JK, but I think Gov's the one who just really changed the game in the way with his intercept marking and that.
Besides yourself, player to kick for your life?
I've got two, and it'd be Jamie Cripps. I think Jamie Cripps is one of the best from 40 metres to 55 out in terms of straight. I reckon Mark Lacroix, and he always reminds me that was him that was meant to be in the pocket on grand final. He reckons only two people could have kicked that, and it's myself and him, but he was on the bench. So he's probably the best kick in that sense.
You take one player onto Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Who are you taking?
Who am I taking? That's a great question. I am going to take Andrew
Gaffey.
And the reason being is because he just knows a bit about everything. He's just, expert at nothing, but knows a lot about a lot, knows a bit about everything. And that's probably who I'd take. But Bunger as well. He'd be the other one because I'm pretty sure that he sits there and reads a whole newspaper every single day. And so he's pretty wise.
Next West Coast Eagles premiership.
What year? Geez, I think it's going to be closer than what everyone thinks, We're talking about the growth that we've seen in the last couple of weeks, and if we continue that way, then, look, I don't see why we couldn't have another good pre-season next year and, make finals. But there's a lot of work to do. I can't put a number on it, Hayes. I don't want to end up back page of the paper saying 2030 or anything. So when do you reckon, mate?
I think it's possible by 31.
Yeah.
Everything going right. Nail the next draft. I think they're a chance by then.
Yeah. And there's a lot to write out in it's a hard one to answer. What happened? Oscar, we know his situation. Gov's gone. How do we adapt with that? How do the young players develop and go to that next level? So there's a lot to play out. So it's a hard question to answer for sure.
I've had my fun. It's now time for you to have your fun. If you've got a question for Dom Sheed, if you want to give a cheerio out, and we're also putting it out there in terms of the greatest grand final moments. Have there been any better than Dom Sheed nailing that goal in 2018? You can join in any time on the text machine, 0487 736 736, or call through 13 12 55 is the number.
You're listening to The Run Home with Paul Hazelby.
Yes, welcome back. Dom Sheed in the house. If you do have a question for Dom, send it through, and plenty have. Scotty from Scarborough says, afternoon, Hayes. Congratulations on your career, Dom. Sorry, but favourite moment from a grand final was the Matthew Scarlett toe poke to Yablet in the 2011 grand final. Well, he didn't even kick the goal, did he?
No,
it was
he didn't.
Chapman that kicked the goal.
It's a big moment. It was a big moment.
But you can't give the moment when you don't even give the goal kicker.
Yeah, you can't, you reckon?
No, I don't think so. It's got to be based around goals.
What about the Daniel Chick smother? You know, like that was a moment. That was a big moment.
Nobody loves defence like that.
No, we don't defend, do we?
No, there was a significant moment, I think, in West Coast history. Absolutely. Yep. We know the rivalry through that period. But Leo Barry, you star. And I think the commentary adds to the moment as well, so that plays a part. But in terms of individual moments and the significance of that one moment, yours has to be up there close to the top of the tree. Tom Boyd had a great moment for the Western Bulldogs. We know the history around that one, but I think what made yours better, it was against Collingwood. Hayes, can you ask Dom, besides his own, which teammate has had the best wedding reception? That's Joshy from Kerry Park. Is that a loaded question?
What is it? What was that question, mate?
Who's had the best wedding reception besides your own?
The best wedding reception would, I've been to a few good ones. Gov and TB's were the most recent ones. I really enjoyed Tom Cole's. That was good as well. So, I've never been to a bad wedding. Mate, free beers. Get fed. They're all good fun, mate.
Were you a dancer at the end of a night? Would you get up on the dance floor?
Yeah, but this is the thing. I'm not a dancer. I'm from Kalgoorlie, so I used to be sitting at the bar. You know?
No rhythm.
Absolutely no rhythm. But a lot of people that I know, and you go to these weddings and everyone's dancers. So my wife told me I need to dance and have fun. So I've tried to start to get into it, and then I remember this one time I was dancing. I sort of glanced over, and my wife's just off the dance floor talking to someone, pointing at me, laughing. So I go, "That's it. I'm done. One and done.
She killed it.
One and done. Baby, you told me to do it. Now you're laughing." So not much rhythm with me, mate, at all.
As a fan watching that grand final, that kick to win just brought a massive amount of excitement, and the beers flowed. Also made me feel younger, I'm sure, from Greenie. Tucky has text back in. Who was Dom's hardest opponent?
Hardest opponent? As a midfielder, you play, sort of midfield versus midfield. So I never specific had matchups one-on-one, but I found Took Miller. He's tough. He runs hard and he's contested. Those smaller mids, which are really strong, if they got that first couple steps on me, I'm not catching them in a stoppage. I felt like the bigger mids, you can sort of play in a different way, but those smaller ones, they can really expose you, especially blokes like you and I, mate, with not too much leg speed. Did
you ever tag? Sometimes when us midfielders are out of form, you just sent to somebody else. Did you tag any of the greats?
Yeah, I did. So in last year, I did a little bit of tagging. So I did Clayton Oliver, LDU. From North, and they were both tough. They were both tough. LDU, the way he moves and sort of gets through a stoppage was hard. He definitely got the better of me, I think. Both of them did, I reckon. But that was sort of my way when I was out of form to actually get me around the footy a little bit more. So it was actually nice. I really enjoyed my role as tagging. I was going to campaign to Mini to do the same thing this year until I did my ACL, but didn't work out. But it's good fun. They just take you to the footy, mate.
Carlos says, what's next for Dom Sheed?
Mate, not too sure yet. I've just started a bit of work in the skilled migration space with Australian Skilled Migration. So Tom Cole's uncle has a company and he's expanded over to WA. So I've just started that and I'm really enjoying it, bringing in skilled workers to WA who, we've got plenty of work on over here in construction and that. People are screaming for workers. So I'm doing a bit of work in that space, which is really interesting and I'm enjoying it so far. And otherwise, mate, I'm on the job hunt. So any listeners out there who has a job for me, reach out, please.
Love it. Wayne Injera, I'm not sure he's got a job, but he says, Dom, how you handled the pressure of that kick was fantastic. I was there and thought about hiding behind my chair. The stress was so unbearable. Fantastic career, not just that kick. And I think that should be remembered as well. As we said, runner-up best and fairest in 2021. Congrats on a stellar career. Phil in Como asked what's next, but we've just answered that. But let's talk about West Coast right now, their performance on the weekend against Collingwood, and I threw it up yesterday with Mitch Woodcock about Andrew McQualter being potentially close to Coach of the Year from what I've seen. I'm loving the style, and they've been competitive in every single game. You must be pretty happy how you leave the football club.
Yeah, I mean, if he was Coach of the Year, that's well deserved. I mean, albeit you look at the win-loss record and you go, oh, no, surely not. But I think it's good that he's getting that recognition, externally.
I think we're realists to say the list is probably not as good as others, and then you take yourself and the other 5 senior players that aren't playing at the moment. There's some real positives.
Yeah, I mean, and especially without Gov there for a chunk of this year, it's the boys have held up well, and that's been from Minnie, mate. He's come across, and it's been a bit of a breath of fresh air for our younger players, and I spoke very highly of him when I first come on the show with you, Hayes, but I think he's going to have a long career as coach, and he's been very good to me in my short stint. So he's unbelievable, and you can see the boys on the weekend were really good. You thought Collingwood was sort of going to kick away early in the second there for a bit, and that's happened a couple times to us this year, where I think there was one game where the team did end up kicking away, but for the boys to respond and have 4 or 5 kicked against them in a row for a young side away from home, to then pull that back, to then put yourself in a position to win the game. And, I think more often than not, halfway, start of the last quarter, we've been a chance of winning the game. So they're going to come in with time, but Minnie's been great, mate.
You found another one too in Job Shanahan. Did you expect him to show what he could do at the level from what you'd seen at training?
I'd heard good things, and can't say I've been on the training track to go up against him, but I'd heard really good things, and just seeing glimpses of him, that he's going to be a good player one day if he can, bide his time. And, these big key position players, they take a couple years to come on. So, patience with him. But he looks like, he looks like a natural footballer, He reminds me a bit of the way he moves, that bit of a Josh Tracy type, good hands.
He's a bit taller than Josh, though, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's strong, and he comes out of the footy. So I think he'll have a long career for sure.
What about Tom McCarthy? 2 games, averaging 30 disposals, and looks like he's been doing it for 5 years.
It's not bad, is it? It's not bad. I tell you what, on my debut, I wish I was able to take kickouts, Hayes. What do you reckon? No, but he's good.
How did you get on debut?
Mate, I had 3 on debut.
I read that today.
I was a sub. I got sub. It's not great to debut. It's not nice being the sub on debut.
They need to get rid of the sub.
I don't think they necessarily need to. Me personally, I'd love just an extra on the bench. I'd love that. But
30, in case you want to know, I had 30 as well, Dom.
Yeah, on
debut.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, until it was Mickey Barlow overtook you for most on debut. That's right.
He did against Geelong. Buddha Hocking. He was my matchup, the great Buddha Hocking. In the end, he got sent, and he said, go and play on that young Hazelbeer. Buddha said, who?
There you go.
It was the first gamer. You've got win more than one game to be Coach of the Year. That's come through. Carlos says, does Harley stay?
Mate, not sure. It's he's going to, I think rightfully so, bide his time. He's concentrating on his footy, and there's a lot that has to happen behind closed doors, right? He's copped a lot. He's copped a lot over his short stint at West Coast and over in WA. So, we're seeing him improve as a footballer, and, each week he's taken more steps forward. But I'm optimistic that he will stay. In saying that, I don't necessarily have direct conversations to him about it. He cops enough from everyone else, so I stay out of that side of it, mate.
Brian says, hey, Dom, who's your favourite young up-and-coming player at the club?
Oh, it's hard to go past Harley, isn't it, as well? But like you said, Job's going to be good. I was really proud of Holly getting the Rising Star nom. I think he can be a handy little player. I think Braden Hoff...
Does he remind you of him, of you?
Not necessarily. He's a bit fitter. He's a bit quicker. So probably not necessarily.
Not as skilled.
Yeah, we're a bit different. But... Geez, there's a whole bunch of them, mate, like Elijah Hewitt taking another step forward this year. So I don't know the Kohler who they thought, is the best up and comer, but I'm really enjoying watching Braden Hoff in the midfield. That's one thing that I'm really watching with a close eye at the moment.
He was good on the weekend. Cam from Tapping asked a very good question. Has any player come forward yet to snag the number 4? Now, that would be a bit early, only retired today, but who would you love to have your Guernsey?
To have number 4, put it in the rafters for a year, maybe. No. Oh, look, there's a handful of blokes. I could give it to anyone. Honestly, it's I had big boots to fill taking it off Curry to start with. So
been some good players in that number. Who's the best number 4?
Absolutely. I think it's hard to go past Curry. I think
Sumich?
Sumich, he was a very good player.
Well, you probably don't remember him at his best, but he was a very good player.
He was a bit before my time, but I mean, in terms of talent, like Judd, Cousins, Kerr, you could almost argue Curry was one of the most talented. They were all
his
great.
best was as good as those guys.
Absolutely, it was just few injuries and other things, but in terms of who takes a number 4, I'm not sure, mate. Not sure.
Nobody's come forward yet.
Not. I've retired about 30 minutes ago, so not at the moment, Hayes.
Get involved. You can join in any time on the text machine 0487 736 736 or call through 1312 55. Yes, welcome back. And Tucky says my pick for number 4 from Dom would be Braden Hoff. Is Dom going to go into any coaching in the future?
Oh, look, to start, I think Brady Hoff is making that number his own at the moment, the one he's wearing. So I don't think he'd want it, but I don't think I'll go into coaching either. I think I want to stay part of footy in some way, shape or form. It's just how that looks, but probably not coaching at the moment.
Big Brian says time for number 4 to go back up forward to Shanahan. Make Summer proud. So there you have it. Hey, I want to ask you about the surface on the weekend. I'm not sure if you saw the game on Friday night, the Bulldogs in Sydney. How would the players be feeling if you're Fremantle right now going to the SCG to play on that? Yeah,
it's geez, you hope they get it right. I mean, as a player, you'd hate to go down with injury because the surface is no good, right? And that's just from a welfare perspective, and no one wants that. Fans don't want that. No one wants it, but hopefully they get it right. Did they pass all the tests?
Passed the test today. Big decision we made on Friday. Dean Cox coming up, so we'll get his opinion. Hey, I want to ask you about wildcard weekend, this finals format that could be used to add additional teams. So teams 9 and 10 would make up the first round, essentially, of the finals. Do you think it's got merit given where we are right now? It seems like 9 teams are in contention, and strangely enough, this weekend, the top 9 play the bottom 9.
Yeah, there you go. I think definitely. I think it add another layer of excitement to the game. And, every football club, their goal is at the start of the year to make finals. So, we've added a couple teams to the comp, but we haven't added a couple teams to finals.
This year it could take 15 wins they're talking about to make finals. 15 wins.
Crazy. And the gap between, in terms of, team performance between sort of 5th and 14th or 13th, it's so minor. So I think more teams should get opportunities to play finals, and the wild card is a great one because you can create hype. I know they have the bye before the final series. That's a great week, but the more teams in finals, sort of the better. It just to me, it sort of doesn't make sense to have a top 8 in an 18-team comp. I think it'd be great for football clubs. It'd be more money in the game, more excitement, and I know the AFL always changing a lot of things, and it's like, I think that's one that has merit.
There's not much excitement in footy, is there, for players? Like, you've been through it. The last 4 years have been really tough for yourself, but you got the one moment, but there's a lot of players out there, a lot of clubs that just don't get to see much success.
No, and I mean, fans want to see their team playing finals, and imagine being a fan sitting at home watching a wild card game.
Yeah, it's better than no footy because currently we have the weekend off.
Absolutely, and you don't know what to do with yourself, mate, on that weekend. So everything goes a bit quiet. But I'd like to see it. What are they sort of proposing in terms of wild card?
It would be 7v10, 8v9, and then of course you keep on playing on. If you win, it just becomes essentially the normal final series, but you've got those games where there's a lot on the line. But what it does, it keeps Carlton, Port Adelaide, Melbourne, St Kilda even would be right in the mix now, which means it's better for the AFL to have teams still competing hard to the end.
Oh, absolutely. I was very fortunate, Hayes, at the start of my career. I think my first year we didn't make finals, but that was due to Gold Coast winning. It was a team winning that ended up having us not make finals. Other than that, we played finals every year the next sort of 5, 6, 7 years of my career. And, so finals was always a thing for me. But, those years post-COVID where we really struggled and, you sort of knew by round 5 that finals was going to be, not possible. As a player, it's not a nice feeling, because that's what you play for. So all of a sudden you've got, 12 games left in the year, 10 games left in the year, and you sort of have to reassess what you're trying to get out of the year. So I think it will actually provide for a better product to actually do something like that, because it's what you play for.
And I think it rewards the top 6 too, because they would get the weekend off.
Yep.
So that's what you want. You want the top 6. We've seen in recent times, because of the bye, teams 7 and 8 can actually rejuvenate and they're ready to go. And we're seeing a few more upsets from those bottom of the ladder teams, which is probably not right after you've been competing for 24 weeks. Yeah,
no, absolutely. But the thing is, the top 6 teams or the top 4 teams, they still get rewarded. And, I know there's been a lot of talk, Hayes, around, the top 4 teams get a finals. If you win, you get another week off. So all of a sudden you played one game in 3 weeks. And
that's the problem. The problem in the waffle right now is that, we're seeing the top team have 2 weeks off in 3.
Yeah, and it's that can be a challenge in itself as a player, because when you're in season and you're playing week in, week out, you sort of get in a rhythm, you get in a groove, you get in a routine and you hit this sweet spot. And then to sort of have weeks off is good in a sense for, injuries and freshen up and all those sorts of things. Pros and cons to them all. But as a player, I never, unless I had a niggle or was injured, I never quite enjoyed the week off around finals time. That's when you're just starting to get
ready to go.
You're ready to go. The mid-season one, I think, add another mid-season one, if anything.
When I was doing my research on you today, of course, Premiership hero, 3rd in the Norm Smith, but that wasn't written there, but that is fact. Rising Star nomination, Lark medalist, runner-up in the West Coast Eagles Best and Fairest in 2021. But there's something missing. There should be Dom Sheed, State of Origin representative 2 or 3 times across your career. Do you feel like now that you're retired, and we just spoke about making it more enjoyable for players because there's a lot of tough times, do you feel we're ready for this again?
I think so. Once again, I think it's great for the game. And, who wouldn't want to represent their state, and get all the best play? I think it would make for great viewing. There's a lot of things to work around with, injuries and what time of the year is it, and building, like a lot of things to work around. But I think there's a way to do it where it can work. For sure. Like, don't you think?
It's going to happen. It looks like we're getting closer. It's going to be in the pre-season, which is not ideal. But I just want to see it in. You get it back. You see the passion for it. The players will want to do it. The clubs have no choice because their players are either going to play that week or they're going to play for their club in the pre-season. I know what I want to do if I'm a player. I want to represent my state. I think the key is not to overdo it. Let's not overkill it, go too hard, too fast. Leave players wanting to be a part of it, wanting more.
Yeah, and I mean, with organising it and doing it and locking it in, it gives clubs the ability and players to prepare for it. So, there's a lot of data that goes around strength and conditioning wise, and that, especially around the pre-season with overloading and getting injured. So at least you can prepare for that. So I've no doubt it'd be great for the game.
Tom Lynch, tribunal tonight. What are you thinking in terms of weeks? Do we want to see that in our game?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to Tom Lynch a few times. He's a good fella, but it obviously wasn't a great look, and he's come out and apologised. But yeah, I'm not sure your thoughts on weeks or whatever, but he seems pretty remorseful, but it wasn't his greatest moment.
5 weeks. I'd be happy with 5 weeks.
weeks.
I think we've got to send the message that you can't do that in footy.
Yeah.
We see players get suspended for 3 weeks for just being late to a contest and causing high contact. This was a deliberate, thought-through act, you'd say, even though he didn't probably get him flush. I don't think we want to see that in our game. Lisa in Ellenbrook, she's a big fan of the West Coast Eagles. Hi, Hayes, Dom and team. Dom, sorry to hear you've hung up the golden boot. You've been a great servant of the club on and off the field. The magical moment in 2018 grand final against the Pies will be forever remembered. All the best. Enjoy life after football. This is how it went. Gov, intercept mark, kicks to Vardy. Vardy marks, kicks to Ryan. He marks, kicks to Sheed. Sheed marks! And from the boundary, kicks a perfect drop punch straight over the umpire's head to win the flag. Thanks for the memories. And I think there are so many West Coast Eagles supporters that could echo those sentiments. And we want to do the same, mate. You've always been fantastic in the media, a great bloke, a very good footballer as well. And we wish you all the best in your next endeavours. But we get to hog you for the remainder part of the season, where hopefully you're still going to come in now that you're retired every second week.
I'll be around, mate. So I'll still be filtering through the club and be able to get around to the fans, hopefully, on one of the games. But
a send-off game?
I think at some point it has been spoken about. But yeah, thanks for having me, mate. Look forward to it.
There he is, Dean Cox, coming up next.